Hey YouTube, wee review of this here, a Jedson telecaster bass from, I think, is it the late 60s, 68, 69, something like that. It's totally one of the coolest looking basses I've ever seen. It's really thin. I haven't actually measured it yet, but it's a really, really short scale. It is, I would say that's 24 and 3/4 inch scale. Like a Gibson Les Paul sort of thing, which has its drawbacks when you're using a bass. I've got a few short scale basses. The Squire Bronco I think is 30 inch, and you get away with it. You have to be a wee bit gentle, a bit cleverer with the fat E string, because it's a little bit farty on the 30 inch scale. I've got a Honda that's 32 inch, it's totally fine, and then obviously 34 inch is your usual scale. So this is significantly shorter. It's basically guitar scale, or even not even Fender guitar scale. It's shorter than a Telecaster is. Yeah. So this is my pal Jim's. He's got it in. He wanted me to replace the volume control because it wasn't working. So check the bridge on this. It's see if you can get focus on it. I've tried turning the light off, because the light in here seems awfully bright. See, there's these wheels that you rotate, so you can actually move the string spacing to whatever you want. It's sitting on a bar, a threaded bar, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, that means there's no intonation back and forward, so it's the scale that it is. There's nothing you can do unless you want to move the neck, and I don't really want to be doing that sort of thing. It's got the truss rod adjuster in there, so it's got a truss rod. Even though it looks like it's got a truss rod covering the top, I think it's just a sticker. It says steel reinforced adjustable neck. I don't know if that tells you what factory it is. Totally, there's a lot of cool things about this bass. Check the tuners are really cool. They're like sort of the elephant ear P bass ones, apart from they're tiny. They just look like your standard Japanese ones on the back. But it's the actual the buttons, whatever they're called, slabs on this. It's got a string retainer bar, which I've seen a few times on old stuff. And I don't actually know what's behind this cool cover, how the things are attached on, how the strings are attached on. Oh, it looks like it's that bit there's just bent down. It's got like hooks hooked in below. Volume, tone, a switch for each pickup. Original pickups. Yeah. So aside from being utterly cool, not normally the sort of guitar era I would go for. That's a Degu making noise now. As soon as I've woke him up. But earlier on, the sort of late 60s, 70s, a lot of the Japanese guitars were made cheap, and they weren't necessarily particularly like a good design. This has some pretty serious flaws. One is the E string at this scale, which I've had before with the very short scale guitars. You just cannot get the E string to intonate. You can't adjust it anyway, but you've kind of got it's miles off. So an E is miles away. It's almost like the 11th fret. You have to press and bend it a little bit to make your octave. So you've really got a choice of whether you want to have which note you're going to play on the E string. I've set the E to be open, so I can use. And there's the other problem. The pickups are not adjustable, and the strings hit them, so you really want to lower the pickups down, but you can't because they're fixed on the surface. I don't want to totally butcher this, it's not my guitar. You could get around that by maybe wedging, if you stuck a piece of plywood in here, or a piece of wood in below there, so to actually lift the whole neck up a bit, so you can get past the pickup. So you've kind of got to fight with having low action, trying to keep it playable at all. But the E string is miles out of its intonation. The other strings are alright. So that's the neck pickup, and the bridge pickup. Actually, the main problem I'm having, it doesn't have markers along the top of the fretboard, like most guitars do. So you have to, if you want to know where your 5th fret is, it's one of those things that you don't realise you look at them a lot until you try having a guitar that doesn't have them and you're just totally lost. So it doesn't have fret markers along the top. If this was mine, I'd maybe put a wee black marker, pen mark or something, just so I can see where I am. As I was saying with the early Japanese guitars, there's a lot of like Tesco's and things like that really, they're not in this league. You know, by the 80s, when these guitars are better than anything you can buy just now. Well, not anything you can buy just now, but they're better than guitars you get for $1,000 now, pretty much hands down. Whereas these, although it looks utterly cool, at the time a Fender was an awful lot better. You know, I think a Fender was 10 times the price, but it really was an awful lot better. And that's just going from without the glaring omission of the fact that you can't intonate the bridge. The pickups are too high and there's not adjustable down the way, and the scale length's too short. So I'm really slagging this off something rotten, but it is totally cool. I will give it that. I've actually been using a compressor pedal, thinking it kind of seemed to beef it up a little bit. See, I'm having to sort of wobble the E string to make it sound like it's sort of in. Replaced the tone control on this as well, so I think I did notice with the tone control, if you've got the tone control completely off, the volume control just dies away to nothing. It's the same the other way around. If you turn the volume down just at half, then use the tone, it just turns the guitar off. So it's like, I think it's because these pickups are such a low output. Both pickups on. Also, being this scale led, you can bend notes a ridiculous amount. That might knock it out of tune a little bit though. A little bit being a lot. I've now got a pedal tuner, which is pretty cool. So these strings on it are like 10 or 20 years old, but I think because I've got the blue ends on them, I think they are actually quite thin gauge. These are the the proper short scale strings. They're kind of wrapped round there, don't seem to affect those pickups strings much. I had to cut the end off that one though, even though it did look cool having the sort of wrap on it, but so it actually stayed in tune. When I stay in tune, I mean it doesn't move, even though it's never really going to be. Fuzz. Maybe maybe enough buzz. What about the chorus maybe? It's never been played this higher before. That's using my Zach Whale pedal and the chorus. So I think the way round actually, that's actually quite liking this now. You kind of I'm getting a wee bit more into the swing of it. You just have to play it a very certain way. You've really got to make sure you don't knock the strings up and down the way, otherwise they hit the pickups. Such. And if you're going to play anything on the E string at all, vibrato it so it doesn't sound as out of tune. maybe I'm getting a bit more of the hang of these things. Maybe I should be getting myself one of these Tesco guitars, you know, or Tiesco. I don't know, I'm not sure how you spell it. Obviously they don't really sustain, but they do have a sort of quirky character to them, and this does have a sound, and it's actually quite good. It just doesn't sound like a bass, that makes sense. And these, as I said, these strings are old. I honestly wouldn't change the strings, I don't think. I think if there were new strings, they would just fart even more. You can hear it farting a little bit, but I don't think much of that's coming through the amp. Most of it's just this, you know, in fact, most of it's just me hitting the pickups. I'm actually wondering, I used to have, in fact I might even still have them. My pal G bought black rubber coated strings. I think they were for a fretless bass, but he put them on his Music Master bass. And because they're rubber coated, they probably wouldn't make that amount of noise when you hit the pickup. In fact, if you use the bridge pickup, you're much less likely, it's much easier not to hit the... That's me using the compressor pedal, so I don't use that. That's my fault, not putting the right strings as opposed to it being out of tune. Oh, it's so difficult not having the markings on the edge of the fretboard. Also because it's such a small scale, it's like, I didn't know you could get a bass that was quite as small a scale as this. I mean, even if you hold it up against a Telecaster, yeah, you can see looking at it, it's significantly shorter. And there's you know, that's them in line, and you can see there, you know, it's an inch shorter than a Tele, and it's for the scale length. So Jim, I'm sorry, there's not really that much I can do to make this play like a real bass, but for what it is, it's actually pretty cool. And I think as long as you're not using the fat E string, it's intoned well, and it seems to play pretty good as well. But I would use a compressor pedal. Yep, so I think that'd be about time to wrap it up. One of my favourite things is see the volume controls. I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom in on them. Is it going to show them? Yeah, they go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is cool. And it's got the cool wee washer with the arrow on it, so you can set it. You might actually see that mad bridge there, so you can adjust the string spacing. Ideally, it would be nice. But in saying that, I don't think. As I had said the problem before when I had one of those wee mini guitars, it was a Stag, and you had to tune it to G sharp or something like that to get the E. It's a G sharp, not an E anymore with a fat string to intone at all. And that was, you know, I tried everything with it. I think just when you get to a certain length with a string, it just doesn't. It's just not going to work. It's not got enough tension on it. None of them's really that well intoned. Yeah, I've talked for nearly 20 minutes about this. Rock and roll, and what a cool guitar. It really is. A little bit of work to play it. But it's only a bass. Bass is only 4 strings. It's easy to mess about a little bit. Rock and roll.